Welcome back, everyone, to Mania 7 Key World Cup 2026. And now, hope you had a decent rest. Once we get the next matchup that is going for this, I guess this entire block, because there's essentially one match on at this time of the hour, and then also the next match comes up an hour after this one. So we're gonna see this particular matchup: Japan versus Norway. Probably one of the more, I guess, interesting matchup in terms of the overall dynamic between these two teams. I think Norway might have probably qualified firsthand also as well, but Japan is also pretty much unchanged in terms of the team members in comparison to last year. Same with the commentary. I'm Mifa, and also rejoining this time with Surfchu. How are you holding up?
Hello, hello. I'm trying to holding up literally because trying to fight a few fits of coughing here and now, here and then. But we'll try to push through throughout this entire weekend. We have a pretty long one, and also you mentioned these two teams. I think everyone knows already the background. This Japanese team, lots of really strong players, and arguably, this is something that has been discussed in some circles. Team Japan's current composition might actually be the strongest Japanese team that we've seen in a while, and that's already saying something considering the players that they've brought last year. Their last appearance in the Osmiya 7K World Cup did end up with a very unfortunate 101 point loss against the Philippines in the finals weekend, if I remember things correctly, on a tiebreaker as well. And then, meanwhile, for Team Norway, they are a returning team in this World Cup. They have some decent players in Masaya. Actually, their entire team is actually pretty decent. And the mere fact that they're inside this top 32, this round of 32, actually says something that they have a decent team going here at the very least.
Yeah, this is definitely what's to show. I guess in terms of knowing that their seeds 1 to 8 are basically capable of on making sure their early game is as strong as they could ever actually achieve. Because in some instances, I think early game hasn't been really, I guess, being shown prominently at the very least, because knowing that round of 32 map pool is in general is considerably, it's considerably easier than the qualifier. So you would know that there should be no problems on, I guess, most of the higher seeds to be able to tackle those. On the other hand, though, I think Norway in particular, even though they're maybe on the bottom 5 seeds, I think it's in 28 even, it's very respectable, knowing that they could actually play like harder stuff even in the qualifiers. I think it could potentially translate very well even in the early game polls in general.
Indeed, though the thing is, like, when you're facing one of these big teams, really, I think, especially as a lower seed, this is the round where it is like the best possible round for you to be able to knock out some of these big names. But that is easier said than done. And we've seen it happen, like at the very first match of this World Cup, actually, with Ireland and Australia. Yeah, we're not gonna spoil the results, or I think the way we treat it kind of spoils it. But you might as well give that a watch as well. For this one in particular, though, I think Norway has to play to their strengths and hope that those strengths are actually the stuff that knocks Japan off their rhythm, I'd say. Japan here is most likely going to be dominating the rice section of this pool, which is quite something. I'm actually pretty excited to see how high their scores are going to be in this pool in particular, especially with a very particular chart. And there you go. That particular chart right there gets protected.
I think in general, though, I feel I should say that in terms of Korjak pick, this is like easily the most comfortable. Well, I guess Korjak is in general comfortable, but this is like the most you would see that is just, well, okay, I mean, can say that Kojak is all just like one force and something like that, but mostly I think in every other circumstance, I think Kojak can be usually being tipped off as having more patterns than just those one force, because you can usually include graces or flams or swing rhythms or whatnot, but I think this one is just straight up one force, and this is what Japan's strengths in a nutshell.
I mean, there are sections where there are anchor jacks. Like, you can think of it as like the Lost Dedicated Light. If you know, you know. There are some sections, but it's not really too bad. The main difficulty here is actually just like be able to maintain your consistency throughout the entire chart. Another thing that Japan may actually look into are the what do you call it? The coursing picks. But anyways, we are seeing the bans, and we have L and 2 being banned by interesting Norway actually, but protecting L and 3. Well, okay.
I mean, I guess it does make sense because Norway isn't really renowned of having just slow coordination focused of a team. I think in general, because I feel like their scores in the qualifiers are not super strong either, but it's definitely worth considering that. Even then, Japan also bans one of the LN releases as well, so it only leaves out LN Density and EX2 in I guess potentially could be picked, I feel.
There's also the hybrids as well if Norway wants to go into the more noodly side of the pool. The bans here are pretty much straightforward, really, considering both of these teams' backgrounds. Japan is really not going to be the team that you'd expect to play the releases. Maybe at some point later in this World Cup, we've seen some really nutty scores, even from their 2DX controller players, Team Japan, on the releases and the coordination picks. But this is just not that round, really, for that one. But anyways, we have Japan immediately going for their Protect. Rice for the Kojak pick.
Yeah, very targeted pick by Japan there.
Pretty much. Any bets on how many gold 300s we're going to be seeing throughout this entire for this entire chart across the entire multiplayer room here?
Do we count totals or just one player?
Okay, let's see. Let's do it two ways or three ways. The total for Japan, the total for Norway, and then the total and for a single particular player.
Okay, so total for Japan is 16, and for I guess in the whole, I guess I would say for Japan, probably the highest being, I guess not highest, lowest 300 count would be 5, I think.
Wow, five gold 300s away from perfect score.
I mean that at least I've seen. Well, I guess I'm not sure if I can spoil it, but I've seen like 999.9 Ks, I think, in that one. So it's definitely possible on the tournament setting.
Like the funny thing is, like, it's not even just the Japanese players who are capable of doing it. There are some players that are from teams that you might not expect that are capable of doing quadruple 9s on this chart. Like the first 4 digits are 9s. First 4 digits from the left, not from the right.
Yeah, but given that this is a targeted pick for Japan, this is very easy to see why it would really be their strongest and has been their Protect even from like last year, I feel.
Indeed. But anyways, here comes this chart. Masaya with the Hidden. If anyone is new to the Oceania 7K World Cup, or actually both the Oceania World Cups, Hidden here works more as a visual aid, really. It does not increase the score. It does not make your score go up faster, really. Everything is capped to 1 million points regardless, so there are no multipliers here. Though, the thing is with Hidden here, especially with how Hidden works in stable, the lane cover does go up as your combo rises, and some people actually get distracted in case you actually manage to get a miss somewhere, so there's that. Everyone is
Yes.
holding on to their full combos as well, except for Androma here, who unfortunately dropped a note somewhere here and is the only player below 99%.
Yeah, this is a really rough spot to be in, especially, I mean, I guess facing Japan in their own turf is kind of really expected to see pure destruction in terms of accuracy difference, even with more misses coming up from Androma's side, and that it's pretty much quite a hefty gap for what is to come already.
Start is pretty short, just clocking over 2.25 of a minute, really. So any misses is practically fatal already. Especially in a chart like this against a team that arguably has owned this category since the return of the 70 World Cups in 2022.
Yeah, this is pretty much what is in strengths for Japan right there. Although my calculations are way off from like what I was expecting. But anyways, even though I said 5 for the lowest, I think if you take into account the 16 was in overall Japan, I think 11 is not too far from Rayleigh even.
Not too far, and that's a particularly nice score in some way. In one way or another, really. Almost, almost a almost a very satisfying one. You only had to flip one digit upside down to make it work.
Kind of, yeah. Although very respectable V1 double S as well from Masaya though, even though that's the one of the highest 300 count that is, but it's still very good to have a V1 double S on their own. So it's definitely good, very good for just the bragging rights for sure.
Now for Norway, they are going to be countering with their own protect here. Happy Girl. Again, I said this in the showcase. What is a song from 2012 doing in this World Cup? Says the guy who accidentally said 2006 during the qualifiers Maple showcase.
I guess, yeah. Well, it's I mean, I guess the overall song choices have been pretty much old school. At some point, they're gonna have to pick like one of the oldies, I feel.
Indeed. Very fun chart, very comfortable. And now we see Misa coming in here for Botanic. No substitutions coming from Norway here.
Yeah, it seems like although I'm kind of, I guess, giving more screen time, I guess, for Misa, because I feel like the charts that are happening for, I guess, one of the later rounds, maybe we probably won't see Misa that much, I feel, given LN coordination and LN release has been banned by both teams. So yeah. it's kind of the point of having substituted.
I mean, at least you would have expected maybe Misa and Suzuha to be the ones who play the LNs here. But surprisingly, we have Rain Lily, but I guess surprisingly here shouldn't really be the best way to say it, because Rain Lily can LN.
Can LN on a 2DX or DAO controller, that is, with a 2DX layout. So, interesting.
But Norway can keep this close as long as they maintain their consistency here and stay well within striking distance, really, because who knows how Japan's form on these noodles are going to be.
So far has been pretty much straightforward patterns. Not exactly hard, but apparently there's a miss from Misa, but although that's a very clean one, that is.
Yeah, barely any accuracy dropped here, and Roma unfortunately dropping their own combo as well. And that's also the better accuracy between these two players before that miss. But anyways, we have these bottom two players still maintaining their full combos. Masaya with the lower accuracy between these two players, about 0.6% between Rain Lily and Masaya here. Meanwhile, Misa has recovered to around 1,000 combo, and Roma is about to get there as well, as unfortunately they managed to find it out before this first chorus ended.
Also fairly, I guess, I wouldn't say long either, but it's also like definitely on the upper bounds of less than 3 minute chart. But apparently there's also miss with Rain Lily, so no FCs on Japan's side. Only Masaya being keeping up actually a little bit more.
Unfortunate drop there from Rain Lily, but you notice right there, barely any accuracy dropped from Rain Lily right there. And Misa as well finding yet another drop, but the score gap isn't decreasing just yet.
I mean, if anything, just accuracy backs them up, but makes it much bigger of a gap.
Indeed, we see Androma actually below 99%. They might want to get that up, especially with Raylin finding yet another drop in the final quarter of this chart. Masaya might also want to increase its accuracy as much as possible as well. Maybe try to reel in case Japan finds a rush somewhere, but this chart is so straightforward that is really going to be a hard thing to see.
More mistake comes from Misa, but then that lady is not even a dent at all.
Yeah, the accuracy really helping Team Japan right there.
It just never crossed my mind that how do you actually coordinate your stuff in such a way that playing a 2DX controller with long nose like this is never been it has never crossed my mind like that.
I guess they're just built different, really. Like how the like okay, for those who are not familiar with what we're talking about, there's like two lines of thought here, or two ways people can play 7K. It's either use a spread layout, which is how basically 99 or 99% of every single 99% more or less of all 7K players use, because it's a keyboard. This is a keyboard VSRG, but there is a way for you to use a 2DX controller, which is a very different layout. If you've seen those arcade rhythm games, you should give a 2DX or IIDX controller if you have to spell it out. Yeah. If you see the layout, you're gonna wonder like, how do people play with this?
It is, and this is such a unique way of playing. Even you kind of have to reorient yourself because you're never actually like touching spread, even though if you're good at it, and then you transition yourself into playing 2DX on something like this. It's just it's kind of a headache.
I remember giving it a go one time because I have a friend who has a controller. And even with super simple rice, it's a very different thing. Something my spread brain cannot comprehend. But anyways, we have Sayonara Hananarobu sa, if I'm not misreading the text here right there.
You're good.
If I did not misread the title. Which is a fast record stream pick, and this is pretty much straightforward here coming from Japan. Because of course Japan really dominates his super straightforward rice charts.
Yeah, it's just rice is just their bread and butter for many years, even for Japan. I think even in 4-key era scenarios, 7-key, no exceptions to that. They have just been like excel at that, and there's no question about it. Although there's a miss from Androma on the Norway side, so it's definitely a much bigger gap. Now just 20,000 at this point in time.
Unfortunately, that Androma is kind of struggling to maintain their combo, but their accuracy is pretty decent, above 99%. Then right here. Yep.
Yeah, somewhat uncharacteristically dropped from B-Tank there, dropping early 200s or maybe late 200s, kind of a little bit inconsistent, I think. Maybe kind of just trying just to combo through and everything, and knowing that the score difference is actually that huge.
Might have been just a misread maybe, because sometimes early game charts do tend to throw off some of these players who end up autopiloting in some form or another, which does happen even to the best of players, really.
Yeah, that's 7,000 point away from a 2 million. That is pretty much
Yeah.
what you would expect from a top 5 seed.
The 2-digit gold 300 count here from Rain Lily. Britannic with
Yeah,
a really, really respectable score.
yeah. No,
Uh,
knowing that
when I say respectable, you have to bow down, maybe put your forehead on the floor. That
yeah,
that kind of that kind of respectable.
I guess in their mind, it probably, yeah, this is not that good. This is like a delete worthy score. They should have not gone that. But yeah, I mean that's just the way it is. I guess the tournament translates your score very differently in your practice runs.
If you see here from the game chat, the referee mentions that there will be another ban phase after this chart. 07's in the chat here.
Oh,
07's in the chat for Shiki. Really
yeah.
interesting pick here coming from Norway. I mean, picking the hardest
Ugh.
non-tiebreaker pick overall.
This is a massive respect there for actually picking this. Not because of actually trying to have a go against Japan's. Not They're not used to seeing a lot of hybrids on the early game side, at least for Japan, at least from like last year. But having this a go is definitely a kind of a breath of fresh air, really.
Very brave pick here, really. Our commendations here for Team Norway for doing this. And I hope they actually perform really well on this start in particular. Because
Oh, yeah.
like, I tell you, this start is well made. It's hard but fair.
Yeah, but you have to also take into account that Sankan's charting style is pretty unconventional
Yeah.
for a chart like this. You wouldn't normally expect to see like, okay, yeah, this is some straightforward core stream and what you would expect from a song like this. But apparently, when you make something of a hybrid, Sankan makes it a whole different approach to what everybody makes their hybrid charts.
I'm not even sure if you could say it this way, but I remember Halogen when during the days I was playing Forte. That is a long time ago. I remember Halogen saying like their charting is made in such a way that it's practically anti Ozymandias.
I mean,
Like
yeah, I mean
the skill
that makes
sets,
sense.
which is kind of the way I think of this chart, because you tend to not see these super shield heavy stuff, even like at least with the way shields are used in this chart in particular.
I mean, this concept is not really touched upon like by so many people until Halogen
Yeah.
pointed it out. So really, it's kind of, you have to really haven't gone into the rabbit hole like that. But apparently, yeah, this is a really far and away the hardest pick in the non-tiebreaker pick, that is. But yeah, as you can see here, that Andromeda having a lot of trouble in keeping that combo going. But all three, the rest of them, all still FCs, even with this kind of hard pattern like this.
Oh man, that right hand pattern right there. No sir. There would have been no surprises if anyone actually missed there, because it's a pretty tricky pattern to negotiate overall. Andromeda with a very respectable mid 98% performance as of the moment. And this break section, the shields, man.
Yeah. It's just how I see that. Oh wow!
Ooh,
Both
wow!
Japan
Both
meltdown on
Japanese
that
players.
one section.
Very similar accuracies here for both Japanese players. Misa is almost recovered to a 99.4.
I mean, if this is any other pick, I feel like I think this pick should have been worth 3 points, because look at Messiah's going.
Yeah. Like the only full combo Okay, I'll cut that sentence off for now. But like, okay, we see Japan increasing their lead now as we see this basically Rice section right now. You're gonna see Japan trying to increase their lead in sections like this, but Misa with a really uncharacteristic right there.
I mean, even the core stream has some
uncharacteristic.
mini jacks like that.
Yeah.
every time. The shield popping up and then the semi-bracketing of a cord stream that is not easy to hit even with an untrained eye.
Botanic tried to wrap up this chart with a pretty respectable combo at the very end. Unfortunate miss somewhere in the middle of the chart really for both of these Japanese players. And we see Androma and Misa finding a trade again, as Team Japan will be increasing the lead as Androma finds yet a few more misses really as we end this chart. And, well, I did not expect this.
Oh boy,
We're
what
a few seconds away.
Yeah, I guess we're still a little bit going. I guess the ending well, I guess it's not that much easier.
Yeah, because that's why I kind of like trying to hold off.
Okay.
And there you go. We see a full combo here in this start for my Messiah. Very good, very good run.
Can a referee in the lobby get a 3 points for Messiah right there? Because my God, that is a performance and a half for a hardest pick in the pool.
Good performance here comes from Messiah.
Really nice job for hanging on.
Indeed. As Team Japan goes match point, and that does mean that we are going to. And with 4 charts played in this round, we're going to our second banning phase here.
Yeah, Japan will definitely have to, ban the next LN probably, knowing the EX2 isn't there. But
EX2, yeah. But if you're Norway, what are you gonna ban?
I believe Rise 2 would be the ban for Norway. I feel like, knowing they could take the risk of picking more core stream.
There's also EX1, maybe Rise 1. You could argue for Rise 1 as well.
I mean, I guess it's a slightly above what you would expect from a regular pick from I guess it's an extreme pick. It should be much more difficult than the regular Rise counterpart, but it's definitely a much more challenging one, albeit a little bit more what would be their Japan's strengths, that is.
Okay, so we are seeing Rise 2 indeed, as you mentioned. Team Japan here, we're EX2, most likely.
Yeah, EX2 would definitely be the ban, I feel like. I mean, any other picks, I think maybe there are possible considerations that any of the hybrids can be. But yeah, there you go. EX2 is out of the question.
Maybe if they... Okay, in the other another way to look at it as well, maybe if they did end up banning any of the hybrids, at least I think it would have been hybrid 1, because it's like it charted is very similar to how, well, at least from how I see it, it's pretty similar to how EX3 is charted in some sections.
Yeah, if you just combine 3 LNs and then just condense it into like extreme pick, I think that would be the kind of thing. Not as dense as the LN3, but it's definitely like the coordination required to hit them is much more difficult. But now we're getting into the last extreme pick that is available for Japan, and they're going for it.
So you have Abyssal Cosmos, and of course Japan will be playing to their strengths really. I think no surprises right there.
Yeah, having this, I think this one has been picked twice, I feel like, for, I guess, in 3 matches in total, because I remember that I saw that in, I think, Australia versus Ireland, and then this was picked, and as a first pick, I feel like, and then this, the second one being the last pick of the, potentially the last pick of the match, I feel.
Alright, here comes Abyssal Cosmos. And honestly, Team Japan, they're in a position where they should just take this match home. I think they will have that mindset going into this one. Meanwhile, for Norway, they might be they might be trying to prove something here at the very least, that they are capable of keeping up with a Titan.
Yeah, they're trying to make a point, I think, in the intro.
Yeah, very, very strong intro for everyone here.
Yeah, more difficult pattern coming forward here, and definitely what Japan should not have been so much of a breaking a sweat, and is pretty much what is in store for accuracies for both Utah and really have been pretty much identical.
What I mean, we're seeing what, two players who are Stellium level. For those who are,
I guess pretty much.
Okay, so everyone getting through everything really here with above 99% accuracies.
Yeah, there's some few accuracy draws on Rainley's side, but that's not so much of a dent because the other player, Botanic, is gaining that footing. But Messiah takes probably the first miss of the entire match, I feel like.
Unfortunate drop here coming from Messiah. Dropping to below 99%. And this time, actually, surprisingly, Norway is in a position where things are the other way around. It's Androma this time carrying the flag here for Norway.
Yeah, looks like they've been taking turns, I feel like, after the massive showing from the mini tiebreaker hybrid, or the Sepia, that is. But apparently, bearing the flag here for Japan, it clearly shows that, like, no matter how many misses that Japan can have, it's just that gap of score is just huge, it's monumental at that point.
Also, I just have to ask, like, how do you maintain accuracy in this chart? As we see both Androma and Messiah unfortunately dropping their combos at this very ending. Botanic finding a single, that's a single note. No, that's a single note miss.
Yeah,
of course it is.
And Rain Lily robbed Botanic's MVP by 100 points, I feel like. So, yeah, very, very strong showing for Japan right there. Sweeping Norway 5-0. And, I mean, let's be honest here. Norway is having their moment in the sun on the mini tiebreaker hybrid, and Messiah there is having the best time of their life ever seeing that chart.
Surely Messiah should be happy with that performance right there. With on the previous chart, meanwhile for Team Japan right here, they move forward to the round of 16 in the winners bracket. And the good news for Norway is that by virtue of this tournament being a double elimination, they are not yet out. They still have a chance of moving a little, like at least 1 week and further, should they win their match in the losers bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't shudder to think that I feel like Japan's, I think overall performance, even though, I mean, I guess this is just early game, but with I think around the 16 where the difficulty starts to ramp up, I think it can probably shows their true colors a little bit more than they would have had this time around. So, yeah, I think in the winners bracket they should at least having a little bit more confidence knowing their next opponent. I feel like in round of 16, which should be pretty careful knowing that the stronger opponents are in round of 16 and above.
So speaking of Messiah, actually, someone pointed it out. I'm not sure how true this is, but for the entire chart, Messiah only missed once. I mean, for the entire match, apparently Messiah only missed once. Someone pointed it out. Okay, I hope someone can confirm this because that would have been a really cool thing to see if it is actually true. But anyways, we have another match coming 26 minutes from now. We have the number 1 seed, perennial favorites, South Korea facing Denmark. And I think that is a match where everything is, well, it's pretty interesting in many ways. You're just gonna have to find out how that turns out later. But anyways, this has been Search85 and Mifa. And thanks for watching this match between Japan and Norway. I think we'll be seeing each other later.